Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my live walk and talk that I do every morning. Every weekday morning, I walk around and I talk about whatever is on my heart to talk about. Right now, I'm exploring a book called Living Through the Meantime. It's a companion to a book called In the Meantime. So fabulous about relationships. One of the best I've ever read. Found it 15 years ago while I was in the middle of divorcing. Such a good book. And so I'm chewing apart every single aspect of that. There's a loving behavior reference. And so chewing it up, I'm learning, I'm talking. So I'm Ann Ferguson. I am a coach. I'm a mentor. I am an author. I'm a friend. I am a teacher. I've been teaching since I was just little. Always whatever the knowledge I had, things I was learning, was always sharing and giving to somebody else. So it's part of what God put into my heart and my soul. So it's what I keep doing. So welcome to this walk and talk today. So today, what we're talking about is not dishonoring what you want or feel just to please someone else. This is a really big one. This is loaded. It kind of goes contrary to some things, about being nice and, giving up your stuff and letting people have their way, all of that kind of stuff. We'll get into that tomorrow. But there's something that we do on a regular basis where we really dishonor ourselves. And it's never good. So we're going to talk about how not to dishonor you and what you want and what you feel just to please somebody else. See, that's the key, just to please somebody else. Now, oh boy, we've got a hot topic today. We've got a topic that is kind of yucky to talk about, honestly, when we realize how often we do this. How many of you have ever experienced gaslighting? Gaslighting. So, gaslighting is a term that actually comes from a really old movie. And in that old movie, Angela Lansbury, she was a really young girl. It's a black and white film. And there's a husband and his, I don't know if his secretary or whoever, but maid, anyway, they're having an affair. And the way that they get away with it is they continue to make the wife, who was Angela Lansbury, feel like she's going crazy. Like she's seeing what she's not seeing. She's not feeling what she's feeling. She's just delusional. Like they make her feel like she's delusional. So they have these gaslit lamps and she walks up the stairs and they go off. And then they come back on again. And she's like, "Did you see that?" And he goes, "See what?" She goes, "Oh, the lights are going off." He goes, "No, are you okay? I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no lights going off. I think you really need to, you're losing your mind." So the term now, gaslighting, means that. It means there is a thing and trying to convince someone else that it didn't actually happen, that it wasn't real, that you didn't see what you saw, you didn't feel what you felt. That is gaslighting. Now, we have all grown up with a degree of gaslighting. We have parents who were not really connected into their own emotional state, or we married and had relationships with people who were emotionally immature. So, gaslighting is something that is emotionally immature. So we learned how to do it. I am a second-generation gaslighter. I was raised by a narcissist who manipulated and made me feel completely responsible for his emotional state when I'm like, "But you're the dad. you're like the adult and stuff. But this is what a child does for their parents, right? The roles got really reversed. And there was a lot of gaslighting. So guess what? This girl knows how to gaslight. I know how to gaslight really well because that was the communication style of my parents, especially my dad. My mom just stayed really, really quiet. And what I have come to know is that I actually gaslight myself quite a bit. So I don't do it anymore because now I've been willing to look and see what I feel and not make myself wrong for what I feel or what I want. So in the past, talking myself out of it. So for instance, I grew up with the idea that the best way to keep a marriage together is that after you are married, you should probably court. You should probably continue to date even and have babysitters and go out on dates and stay together. So that's something that I always wanted. My parents didn't do it, but it's something that I always wanted. And I really wanted it. Why? Because I wanted that connection. And so I would voice that every once in a while, and it was like, whatever. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. You're kind of clingy. Or, I don't know why you would think that. I've got to go do this, and I have to do that. That was another excuse. Ex-husband worked for a senator, so the senator was always way more important than his wife or his family. And I would, on a regular basis, think he was coming home and then finding out I was doing all 5 kids alone again. And I wasn't supposed to feel anything about it. Like I wasn't supposed to feel sad or upset or frustrated or angry. I was just supposed to be supportive because that's what you do. You're just supportive. And so I learned to gaslight myself, you guys. I learned this very unloving behavior of dishonoring what I want and what I feel to please someone else. Yeah. I was told that that was what was loving. I was told to just give up my stuff and just be supportive and not rock the boat and not be demanding, not be needy, be loving and supportive. And what that equated was, don't want what you want. Don't even try to get what you want. I mean, that's selfish for you to want what you want. You got to check in with everybody else and see what they want. And if what they want aligns with what you want, then by all means you can do that. But if what they want is contrary to you, no. So you got to make yourself believe that it's okay to do what everybody else wants, and you learn to squash your desires. And you squash your dreams, and you squash what you're feeling. And you don't keep agreements. So you agree to yourself, I'm going to do this, and I'm so excited about doing that. Right? And then you don't keep that agreement to yourself. Dishonoring is not the same as choosing. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about surrendering what you want if it generates more love. That's not the same as just pleasing someone else. Let me tell you why just pleasing someone else doesn't work. Stick with me, everybody. All the times that you've gaslit, you've pleased somebody else instead of yourself, you've choked yourself out. You've denied it, but it's still there. That dream, that desire, that want is still breathing. My desire to go on a date every single week and have my spouse look forward to and make it a priority to take me out, for us to go out together, for us to explore things and have a life in a way that is beneficial to both, has never waned. It's always been something that I desired. Now, there are times when things come up and it doesn't work, and there are times when my spouse is really not feeling well, right? But not feeling well is not the same as having that priority and that desire to set time aside for our relationship to build. I, for years, convinced myself I didn't need it. It wasn't important, it didn't matter. And what built in me was abandonment, one-sidedness, self-protection, distrust, all of those things. Being made to feel like you're needy because you want that kind of connection isn't fun. Being unimportant and have everything else important isn't fun. And so all of those not fun things I used to push down. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm okay. I'm an adult. I don't need to, we can find another way. I can push it down. Can you feel the sadness? It's because dishonoring what I would love isn't loving. So, what the difference is here is never letting go of the fact that you do want it. See, I was trying to convince myself I didn't want it. I was trying to tell myself all of the reasons why I was really childish for wanting the things I wanted. And that this date thing is just kind of just the one I pulled out of the hat, right? There's a lot that we then convince ourselves that it doesn't matter, we don't need it, it's fine, it's childish, it's silly. So in my post today, as I wrote about this dishonoring, I wrote all the dishonoring phrases and realized that, oh gosh, I've said them to myself. Can you imagine talking to a 6-year-old that way? Instead of going, oh, tell me more about what you would love. It's no wonder why it took me a long time to be okay with dreaming. It's because what I want, I invalidated as much as somebody else. Why? Because when somebody else is upset with me, it's really uncomfortable. When somebody else actually feels the impact that their behavior has on me, they don't like it. Having the ability to say, you know what, I do want this. And it's totally okay that I want this. And just because somebody else doesn't want it does not negate the fact that it's okay for me to want it. Right? When I say, hey, this one really matters to me, I really want to do this, and somebody else is like, rah, 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 rah. They have a right, totally have a right to be grumpy and ornery, and it doesn't mean that I was wrong for asking. It doesn't mean that I was wrong for honoring what I wanted most or my voice at all. It doesn't mean that. I had to start letting people feel whatever they were going to feel based on their impact on me. It's kind of hard, right? Because especially women, I think men too, women and men in a different way. Women, we're taught to, well, we have to. We have these babies and we have to comfort them. And we have to sacrifice what our wants and our needs are in order to keep human alive. I mean, when you don't have sleep and you're trying to get something done and then everything happens and you can't get it done because of them, you're conditioned in that way too to let go of yourself. And that is actually okay when it's a child. But it's not actually okay when it's an adult that you're working with. And if they let you down, when you've communicated something that you wanted and there was an agreement, and you feel something about it and you express that you have felt that, you're not dishonoring yourself just to please somebody else. Oh, it's okay. It doesn't matter. It wasn't a big deal. While your heart is sinking, that's dishonoring you. But to say, yeah, that one was really rough. I really wish this one had gone down. And being able to handle your own disappointment and just go, you know what? I feel disappointed about it. And you had a part in that disappointment. I'm not giving it to you to fix. I'm letting you know, yep, this one had impact. That is extremely loving. There was one situation that I had that I did not dishonor me. It was quite the moment. Tom and I were down in North Carolina, and there was a great big hurricane that was coming. And we had already been homeless due to trees, a big tree falling on our house. So when we were in Virginia, in a 15-minute storm, the winds caught this tree, and it had no roots because the carpenter ants had been eating it, and it fell and crashed on my house, and we were homeless immediately. My kids had some PTSD about that experience, right? So now we're in North Carolina. We find out that this hurricane is going to hit 20 minutes from our house. That's where landfall and the eye of the storm was going to be. And I'm watching the news all day and the weather all day, which I don't usually do. And I kept feeling over and over and over and over, you need to get out of here. You need to get out of here. You need to go to your mom's in South Carolina. You need to get out of here. And as I was talking to Tom, he didn't want to get in the car. He didn't want to drive. He didn't want to not be at work for a week. Although there was going to be things happening. He wasn't going to be at work anyway. But he was not going. He didn't want to go. He was ornery about it. He felt like he was being forced. And instead of going, okay, you're right, I'm being silly, I shouldn't go, we're fine, I'm overreacting, I instead honored what I was feeling. It was so strong. You need to get out of here. You need to get out of here. And so I said, I am taking the children to my mom's. You can stay if you choose to, or you can come with us. That is totally up to you. And I remember feeling it was one of the first times that I directly, purposefully, with intention, did not go with what my husband was saying he wanted to do. I was leading the family, if you will. And that's really against everything I watched my mom do and I watched society do. It was all that, we were supposed to honor the leadership of our husbands, and that's how I was raised. So it was a really, really big deal. And I packed everybody up, and I got in the car, and Tom came with us. And I spent, emotion. I spent a week at my mom's house. At a swimming pool. And instead of trying to figure out how we were going to deal with the power being off for a week without a generator, which is what most people in the town were doing, we were playing in her swimming pool and jumping and having a great time. And I could rest a little bit. And the reason why there's tears here is because that's the only time in my entire adult life that I ever spent a week with my mom. And my kids got to have a grandma. We had a safe place to run home to. I've got really, really tender memories about that because my mom has now passed. And back home, a tree did fall, but it fell parallel to my house, not perpendicular, which is a much better option. I would have missed out on that experience, and my kids would have missed out on having grandparents to run to and a place that was safe. They didn't have to manage their PTSD over storms and power outages and all of the things that would trigger them. One of my daughters, that every time there was a storm or a loud noise, even if there was a loud noise, because when the tree crashed it was really loud, every time there was a really loud noise she would jump and immediately she would start crying, even if she was totally okay. Like her body would go into that. And I decided not to put my children through that. I honored what I felt, even though it did not please someone else. It was the most loving thing that I could have done. And I found out that someone can be mad at me and upset with me and not like what I've decided that I want to do. I didn't have to include him. He didn't have to come. And he's not a bad guy, guys. I want to make sure that you know that. Thomas is not a bad guy. It was just, we just had a difference. Not wrong. We were just different. He believed that we could weather the storm and didn't have to go anywhere. The whole journey of going down to my mom's was overwhelming for him with 5 kids. The bed sucks at my mom's house. So we didn't sleep very well. He felt pretty trapped, I think, by being there. It wasn't a good experience for him. And I witnessed that, and I respected that it wasn't what he wanted. At the same time, I didn't dishonor him for wanting to stay home. He made a choice to come. And that's what I'm talking about here. Don't dishonor what you want, what you feel, just to please someone else, or just to not rock the boat, right? Or just to make them feel better. We're going to talk tomorrow about surrendering what you want when it generates more love. And there's a difference, because that is a conscious choice without dishonoring what you feel. I've done that a lot too. Now that I know how to honor my own emotions, first to myself and then to others, now I can hear what other people want, what they need, what they're feeling, and I can hold that space that this is what I want and this is what I need, and I can evaluate what is going to be the best for me. Does this sacrifice me to the point that the bitterness, resentment, anger, frustration is going to come up or be buried? I might not even feel the bitterness and resentment. I might just bury it to the point that I don't even know. That's dishonoring. But I can actually choose and say, well, so what feels good to me is this. What feels good to you is this. No competition. Not wrong, just different. Okay. I can totally give this one up. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. About how to do that by choice instead of by compulsion. Instead of by PTSD fawning response. Instead of by guilting, manipulation, or gaslighting. You're not crazy. What you feel is what you feel. And you're absolutely valid for feeling that. No one ever has to validate that that is what you feel for it to be true. What you desire is what you desire. You can choose to change that at any time. But you're not wrong ever for wanting what you want, what you would love. You are never wrong for just desiring that. Anytime you want to change your mind about that, it's totally fine. Just don't deny that you're actually wanting it and pretending that you're crazy and pretending that it's not okay and shoving it down. None of that is all right. None of that is okay. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. Let's honor what we feel. Let's make ourselves valid for what we feel. Anything you would love to do, anything you would love to have, anything you would love to be, those desires, let's honor those and go, it's totally okay that this is what I want. This is how I feel. And don't automatically give those up because someone else doesn't agree with you. Just hold them and say, I can see that you disagree. Doesn't invalidate the fact that this is okay for me. Let's talk about this so we can get it done. So, is it okay for a little girl to want to be a ballerina? Is it okay for a little boy to dream about being a superhero or a dragon slayer? Even a girl, is it okay for a girl to be a dragon slayer? Is it okay for them to be scared when there's a big storm? Is it okay for them to want something, like really, really, really want something? It's absolutely okay. It's okay that you have different feelings. So before I go, I want to flip this the other direction. We've talked a lot about honoring yourself. I would love for you to know how important it is to honor that someone else has a different dream and they have a different thought and they have a different feeling. And it's not in competition with yours. They just have a different thought. And if it complicates your life, you can say, well, I still want this, you want that. Is there a middle ground? Or is it totally okay to stop what you're doing to join me? Is it okay for me to stop what I'm doing to join you? Or is it okay for me to just let you be in agreement and me go do my thing anyway? What about you? You want to do your thing and me not join you? Is that okay? That is healthy, perfect, beautiful conversation. But you must honor that other people have a right to feel, even if they're angry, even if they're distrusting of you, even if they are frustrated with you. They have a right to feel frustrated. They have a right to be pissed. Why? Because they don't understand you. They have a right to be judgmental. They can be judgmental. It doesn't make you wrong. They can be really happy when you're sad. It doesn't mean they don't love you. They're just happy. I had a friend who, she was dating somebody, and her boyfriend was at an amusement park, and she was missing him so bad, and she was angry that he was happy because she was feeling so sad. And I went, do you love him? And she's like, yeah. And I go, so if he were sad and he were home, what would you do? She goes, well, I would try to comfort him. And I go, then why do you want him sad right now? Is it just totally okay that he's having a blast on a roller coaster? Does it really mean that he doesn't miss you as much as you miss him? Or could it be that he's doing something else about the feelings of missing you by distracting himself? Maybe he misses you a lot and this is just how he deals with it. Right? He had the right to feel happy. You have the right to feel happy when somebody's sad. You have the right to feel sad if somebody else is happy and you can't quite bring yourself to happiness. Other people have the right to feel, if I can nail one thing down, we all have the right to feel whatever we're feeling. And the only way we can have actual communication is to be aware of what we feel, to speak what we feel, to honor the fact that it is what we feel regardless of whether anybody else agrees with us, and to honor what somebody feels without any competition. That, my friends, is super, super loving. So I will see you all tomorrow.